Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, it's so good to see you. Hey, if you're brand new or you haven't been here in a while, my name is Davey Nelson. I'm on staff here at Kensington's Clinton Township campus. So again, welcome. Thank you for being here. And for those of you that are joining us online, it is so good to see you and be with you. Hey, as we're launching into the second week of this Bring It series that we're in, we're going to be talking about pain today. And we know that that can be something that is really heavy. And so to kind of prep ourselves for that, we just wanted to get into the right space and open with a time of worship. We're going to do a couple songs. The first one is called Good Plans, and the second one is called Above It All. And Above It All is actually a song that we wrote together on staff for Kensington. But this first song I love so much, it comes right out of the scriptures in Psalm 23, where it really talks and walks us through a journey of God being our shepherd, which means he is not this some often distant God looking at us from far above without a care. But in fact, he is present with us in every season and situation, whether it is hard and painful or it's filled with joy and celebration. He's with us in both. And this is something that we truly believe in, and that is good news. Because in fact, him being a good shepherd and a good father means that he has good plans for us. And even better than that, he goes before us. He makes a way, and we can have confidence and faith in him that he's going to lead us into good things. And when things come our way that are hard or difficult, he's right there with us. And in Psalm 23, it talks about, surely his goodness and mercy will follow me for all my days. And that is something we're actually going to sing out in that bridge and just declare this truth of who Jesus is. So I'd love to invite you, if you're able, would you please stand with us as we worship and proclaim this truth this morning, that our God is a good father, he is a good shepherd, and his plans for us are good. Let's sing. My shepherd, and he is everything I need, so I will not worry, and I will not fear the enemy. He said that he loves me, and he said that he's with me, even though I walk through the valley of shadow and death, and still I know he has good plans. He has good plans for me. So I will take heart in deserts and gardens where he has good plans. He has good plans for me. If I know my Father, I know my Father has. My Savior, so why should I doubt my victory? And why would I question the rod and the staff that comforts me? He quiets the waters, he quiets the storms inside of me. So what could be better than walking with him when I'm weak? He has good. mercy will follow. Surely goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. Surely goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. Surely goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. Surely goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. He has good plans. He has good plans for me. So I will take heart in deserts and gardens. He has good plans. He has good plans for me. If I know my Father, I know my Father has good plans. Good plans. Good plans. If I know my Father, I know my Father has good plans. Good plans. Good plans. If I know my Father, I know my Father has over every sin and every failure, every pain and every hurt, over every lie that has been spoken. You are the final word. Over the earth and all its kingdoms, and every idol made by man, every doubt and speculation. You are the great I am. And above it all, every name, all praise is yours. Above it all, you reign. Let the earth rejoice. You have overcome the world. You will always be above it all. Eternal joy here in your
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today at Kensington Clinton Township. Whether you're with us online or you're here in person, we're so glad to have you here today with us. My name is Danielle, and I am on staff here at Kensington Clinton Township. And one of the things I love the most about being on mission with you all is the generosity and the heart for Jesus that you share to so many, whether local or across the globe. Recently, we shared 2 opportunities to engage and respond in assistance, and we are just so excited to say that you responded with such generosity. The first is the Israel-Palestine conflict. $80,000 was raised to go directly to our global partners, providing help for 300 families and 750 displaced Christians. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Absolutely. To help with food, kits, mattresses, so really awesome stuff. Second was a response to our No Child program. We had our No Child program here last weekend, and we have 260 children that are sponsored in Kenya, India, and Nepal. Yeah, thank you guys. I know, it's pretty amazing. If you would like to still get information about No Child, you can look over on the screen. We have a QR code to go ahead and get information about No Child. Maybe you're feeling the nudge to go ahead and sponsor. You can go right there and you'll find all the details for that. And keeping up with that momentum of sharing and generosity, we have a 29-year tradition here at Kensington where we deliver Thanksgiving baskets to those in need. We work with our school partners or people in the community that might just be experiencing a little bit of a difficult time. And we need your help with a financial donation. It costs $65 to put the basket together. And we also would love your support to come on November 18th to join us in delivering the baskets. Get some family together, some friends. It's a really awesome day to go out in the community and serve others with the love of Jesus. And we also have baptism coming up, which is one of my favorite days of all. And that is when we make an outward expression of our inward desire to follow Jesus Christ. And it's truly just a beautiful day. So I know I've given you a lot of information today. You can always go ahead and go to our website to find out details. But also we have a special place in our lobby called The Hub with our friends in wonderful orange shirts that are willing to answer any questions, anything Kensington at all. Go ahead and stop by The Hub and they'll give you details. And if it's your first time here with us today, we also have a little welcome gift to say thank you for being here with us. Today we're going to lean into week 2 of our Bring It series, where we're talking about bringing Jesus our pain. And we have Sam Anderson here, one of our teaching pastors on staff. But before Sam goes ahead and comes up, I'd like to encourage you all to stand up and say hi to someone.
All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. You guys doing all right this morning? Yeah? You excited to be here? You look good. That's for sure. If you feel half as good as you look, we're doing okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Listen, I'm so excited to be here today. We are in week 2 of our Bring It series, and today is going to be a little bit different. And so if you are, if you're new here, it's always a little bit different. So don't get used to anything, right? But we're talking about something a little bit more serious today. We're talking through pain. And anytime you talk about pain, you're talking about vulnerability, you're talking about, shame and guilt sometimes are attached to that. It's going to be kind of a heavy morning. So I want to let you know that up front, that it's going to be a little bit of a heavy morning, but I also want you to know that everybody has a pain story. Everybody. You have pain stories. I have pain stories. Pain is something that we all share in common. And so today, the focus in this Bring It series is bring your pain to Jesus. And so that's kind of where our hearts are going to be this morning. That's where the trajectory of this service is going to go. And so here in a second, the creative team has put together this beautiful song and poem to sort of set the stage for where we're going today. We're going to look at the passage of scripture found in Luke chapter 8, where it's the bleeding woman and she crawls and she comes to meet Jesus. And so as the band leads us in this next song, I want to encourage you over the next few moments to just sort of focus on the lyrics of this song. This is not necessarily one of the moments where like you stand up and you're like, yeah, I'm going to sing along and it's going to be great. I want this to be a time for you to sort of focus your heart, prepare your heart for what God wants to do in, through, and around you this morning. Because as we talk about pain, I'm going to ask you to look inward. I'm going to ask you to get a little introspective and allow God to potentially do some work this morning. Because the reality is, the things that we're talking about today and sort of the trajectory that we're going on this morning could be life-changing for you. This morning could shift the trajectory of your entire life. And so there's potential for a lot of power to take place in this room this morning. And so as the band leads us in this, I want you to just kind of prepare your hearts. I want you to soften your hearts. I want you to open your minds. I want you to posture yourself in a way to receive from God this morning. So over the next few moments, just focus on the lyrics, take this in, and then I'll be back to talk through Luke chapter 8. So thanks for being here.
Something is terribly wrong within her. A long, slow bleeding of her heart and soul has been her constant companion. For as long as she can remember, so many things she has tried to make the bleeding stop or to make her feel better for at least a moment. But the long lines of solutions have failed her. So here she stands, even worse off than she was before, desperately grasping for wholeness or healing or even a glimmer of hope.
Come out of hiding, you're safe here with me. There's no need to cover what I already see. You've got your reasons, but I hold your peace. You've been on lockdown and I hold the key. 'Cause I loved you before you knew it was love, and I saw it all. Still I chose the cross, and you were the one that I was thinking of when I rose from the grave. Now rid of the shackles, my victory's yours. I tore the veil for you to come close. There's no reason to stand at a distance anymore. You're not far from home, and I'll be your lighthouse when you're lost at sea. And I will illuminate everything. No need to be frightened by intimacy. No, just throw off your fear and come running to me. Oh, 'cause I loved you before you knew it was love, and I saw it all. Still I chose the cross, and you were the one that I was thinking of when I rose from the grave. Now rid of the shackles, my victory's yours. I tore the veil for you to come close. There's no reason to stand at a distance anymore. You're not far from home.
Maybe Jesus, maybe he will be able to stop the bleeding of her weary heart. If only I could get near enough to reach out and touch. And when she finally grasps for him, the bleeding stops. The wound is healed. The broken is made whole. Relief streaks down her tear-stained cheeks. Freedom, finally. He turns and looks. His eyes meet hers, and she falls to her knees in fear and confusion. Daughter, he tenderly whispers to the depths of her heart and soul, indescribable intimacy in the middle of a crowded street. Go in peace with a gentle smile on her lips, his lips, knowing this is what she most deeply longed for. Be freed from your suffering. And indeed she is. No more bleeding. No more grasping. Just only love.
Now as you run, what hindered love will only become part of the story. Now as you run, what hindered love will only become part of the story. No, as you run, what hindered love will only become part of the story. No, as you run, what hindered love will only become part of the story. Child, you're almost home now. Please don't quit now. You're almost home to me. Oh, you're almost home now. Please don't quit now. You're
Can we just take a second really quick here? Listen, Amira pours her heart out on this stage week in and week out. Can we just thank her for pouring into this community the way that she does? You're so appreciated. Thank you. That was beautiful. That was amazing. Holy smokes. How am I going to start talking when I'm crying? Oh, I feel like Adam up here. Okay. Goodness. And I'm not making fun. I love that about Adam. I really do. Man, but everybody's got a pain story, you know? Everybody has a pain story. Whether it be a physical pain story, you know, I'm reminded of a time I was in, man, I had to be 7th or 8th grade, something like that, and this kid rode up on his buddy's back pegs of his bike. You guys remember those things? Rode up on the pegs, and he was like, "You're talking smack about my girlfriend." I'm like, "I don't know you or your girlfriend, you know?" He's like, "We're gonna fight." And I'm like, "I'm not fighting you. You're way bigger than me." And he's like, "No, we're fighting." And I'm like, "No." And so he flinches at me, and I go to block, and he flinches at me again. I go to block, and flinches at me the third time. I go to block, and I had no idea he was left-handed. And so he just comes around with this left hook, and just like, next thing I knew, I was laying in a puddle of blood on the street, like waking up like, huh? Like, what the heck just happened? All I know is like my whole face hurt like I didn't know it could possibly hurt like that, right? All my friends are like, is he dead? You know? But maybe it's a physical pain story like that you can kind of chuckle at. I don't like how much you chuckled when I said I got punched in the face. That didn't make me feel great. But, or maybe it's a relational pain story. I was probably in my early 20s, adulting, trying to become an adult, right? Exiting from the late teenage years, early 20s, trying to figure life out. It's coming at you a million miles a second, and you're like, And I was engaged before I met my beautiful wife now, and that relationship was deteriorating, falling apart, and I was so stressed and so overwhelmed with the pain and the craziness that was happening in my life that I came down with Bell's palsy. And so Bell's palsy is like an attack on like your nervous system. And I don't know if you know this, but behind each of your ears, there's like a nervous system like hub, and the what do they call them? The nerves, I guess, spider across your face, and they meet in the middle, right? And so I got so stressed, and I was under so much duress and pain in that season that my neuro system behind one of my ears shut down, because stress can do that to you. And so half my face went dead. Like I'm talking, I raised my eyebrows like this, and you see the lines across. I'm almost 40, so you can see them pretty clear. They stopped halfway through. Like the taste buds on my tongue, half of my tongue had no taste. I had to tape my eye closed at night so I didn't scratch my eyeball because I couldn't blink. And it was pain. It was a symptom of this relational pain that I was feeling, this relational trauma and pain that I was going through. Maybe for you it's a familial pain. Maybe there's pain attached to your family, to your relationships. I know my mom passed in 2014, and I can't even put into words the pain that was felt with my family, my brothers, and my brother and my sister, and my dad. It was hard. Everybody's got a pain story, the pain that's continued since then. Since my mom passed in 2014, my brother, my sister, and I, we've been pretty much estranged from my dad. He didn't know how to deal, didn't know how to handle it. Turned to the bottle, disappeared for a while, came back, disappeared, came back, disappeared, came back. Pain. It's real. We all have a pain story. And I know I usually get up here and I'm like happy-go-lucky, the funny guy, having a good time, and I don't take myself too seriously, but that doesn't negate the reality that there's pain, and that you have a pain story, and I have a pain story, and we all have a pain story. And some pain stories can be funny. Right? They can. You guys all laughed when I got punched in the face. I'm still processing that. I mean, some of the best things on the internet are people experiencing pain, right? We laugh our heads off. Am I the only terrible person in the room that does that? Like some of my favorite things on the internet are when people fail and fall and slow motion, like hit the ground. And you're like, I'm just like, that's great. And I'll sit and watch it on repeat, right? Some pain can be funny, right? But most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, pain stories are not funny, Anybody that's battled disease, anybody that has battled sickness, anyone who's been through disaster in their life, anyone who's experienced cancer or experienced, the loss of a family member, man, pain's not fun. Pain's not funny. It's heavy, and it's hard. And when we talk about it, and when we think about it, and when we process it, it puts us in a pretty vulnerable position. I have a buddy who is in pain. Him and his wife, they live in Tennessee. His name's Aaron Weatherford. And a few weeks ago, his 9-year-old daughter, she lost her life to neuroblastoma. And it was a long, hard battle. Pain is heavy. Pain is real. Pain is something that we carry with us all the time. And you have a pain story, and I have a pain story. Everyone has a pain story. And so this morning, what I want to do is I want to look at a passage of scripture in Luke chapter 8 that deals with someone's pain story and how they bring it to Jesus and what Jesus does with it. And I'm hoping that this morning, as we kind of walk through this together, it can challenge us, It can inspire us, but ultimately it can invite us to do the same thing, to bring our pain to Jesus. So let's pray together, and then we'll jump into this. So let's pray. God, thank you for today. Thank you for just the incredibly talented people who serve on this stage to lead us in worship and in response to who you are. Thank you for the awesome things that are happening over in the great room with all those kids dressed up in crazy costumes and having a good time. Thank you for the community that's being built and cultivated over there. That's so special. That's so foundational for their life moving forward. Thank you for all the people that are back in the kids' church right now, K-Kids, that are serving and loving on our kids, and they're all dressed up, having fun as well. Thank you for their passion. Thank you for the encouragement that they give our kids, the guidance, the foundation that they're laying. Thank you that we can have a space like this where we can open your word and it speaks truth to us. And so this morning, as we talk about pain, Lord, I pray that you would begin to soften our hearts now, that you would open our minds, that you'd make us receptive to what you have for us today. Give us the wisdom to see what you're doing, but also give us the strength and the courage and the audacity to actually step into this conversation, to step into what you might be doing and respond. God, we welcome you here. Do a work in us today in Jesus' name. Everybody said? Amen. Before we jump in, I do want to take just a second. We do this all the time, and we just honor those of you who have partnered with us in ministry. Those of you, if the ushers want to go ahead and come forward, it's because of your consistent giving, your consistent generosity that makes anything and everything we do here at Kensington possible. From, like I said, the age-appropriate ministry that's happening all over this building, to our move-out network, our 50-plus move-out networks, to our global partners, our short-term trips, our long-term trips, all the things that we do here at Kensington is only because you guys are on mission with us and your continued support and generosity. So we pause every service and we honor you. We say thank you so much for pouring into the life of what God is doing here at Kensington. If you've not done so, we'd like to invite you to join us. And so there's easy ways to do that. You can text to give, you can give in the app, you can give online, or you can put it in the magic bag that's passing in front of you, or scan the QR code, or all those things. There's all kinds of ways for you to get involved and to jump in, and we just thank you guys for being a part of that. So today, the Gospels highlight, all four Gospels highlight a specific particular pain story in their Gospels. And I think it's so powerful, and it's so easy, honestly, for us to kind of just skip over it, because it's almost like an insert into another story that's already taking place. And so if you have a Bible, you can turn to Luke chapter 8. If you have your phone or an iPad or whatever, you can go there, or it'll be up on the screens as well. But we're going to be in Luke chapter 8, starting in verse 40. And we're going to read from verse 40 to 48. And so I'm going to read from my Bible, and it goes like this. Now when Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. So at this point, Jesus' public ministry, word had begun to spread that he's, kind of a big deal. And so there's crowds waiting for him when they're anticipating he's going to be somewhere. So pretty much anywhere he goes, he's walking with a squad. He's walking with a posse. He's got like his inner circle, like his disciples. But then he's got a crew. It's not just 13 of them traveling around. It's potentially hundreds, if not thousands of people that are gathered around this rabbi as he travels and teaches and speaks and does all the things, right? And so now when Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him. This is the crowd that we're talking about, for they were all waiting for him. And there came a man named Jairus, who was a ruler of the synagogue, and falling at Jesus' feet, he implored him to come to his house, for he had an only daughter, about 12 years of age, and she was dying. Now Jairus is what does it say he is? He's the, Jairus was the ruler of the synagogue. So Jairus was a big deal. Jairus was a high society kind of guy. He was a guy that was like in charge of the synagogue where everyone would go to worship and all that. So people knew who Jairus was. People knew Jairus was a man of clout, a man of status, a man that could get things done. And so this, big deal guy comes to Jesus and falls at his feet, right? These are the main characters of this story so far. And he says, Jesus, my daughter is dying. She's sick. Will you please come to my house? And Jesus is like, yeah, of course, right? And so in verse 42, it says, Jesus went, and the people pressed, as Jesus went, the people pressed around him. Because remember, this is a huge crowd that's traveling with Jesus. Now, verse 43. And there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years. And though she had spent all her living on physicians, she could not be healed by anyone. And so there's a particular woman in this crowd of hundreds or if not thousands that are traveling with Jesus that had a hemorrhaging problem, and she had spent all of her resources on doctors and soothsayers and sages or whatever to try and figure this thing out and get it working, but they could not figure it out. And so in verse 44, she came up behind him, meaning Jesus, and she touched the fringe of his garment, and immediately her discharge of blood ceased. Now picture this, imagine this, right? Got all these people around. She knows the rabbi from Nazareth is coming. She knows that something's going down. She knows that his reputation had preceded him. People are saying, this is the guy. This is the Messiah. This is the one that we've been waiting for. And so she pushes through the crowd, gets up behind Jesus, and she touches the edge of his garment. In verse 45, and Jesus said, "Who was it that touched me?" Now, imagine the scene, okay? I like to think of it as like, remember when you would leave Joe Louis Arena for a Red Wings game, and you'd have to go through that like little tube to get to the parking garage? You guys remember that? Anybody? Is that like the most you've ever felt like you were in a can of sardines, like ever? Like if you are any sort of claustrophobia going on, that would be your worst case scenario, because you are like full body touching, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 8 people at the same time, and you're all kind of going like this, right? And you're like full body touching. And so I picture something like that, where Jesus is walking, crowds of people around him, and all of a sudden, someone touches him, and in verse 45 he says, "Who was it that touched me?" I'd be like, bro, who hasn't touched you? You know what I mean? Like in this moment. And that's kind of what Peter does. When all had denied it, which I think is also funny, because they're all like, and Jesus like, "Who touched me?" Like, "It wasn't me." Like, "What do you mean it wasn't you, man? Like your whole body from knee to shoulder is touching, They're like, "It wasn't me, it wasn't me." When everyone denied it, it says Peter said to him, so Peter spoke up. He said, "Master, the crowds surround you and are pressing in on you." He's like, "Obviously someone touched you, man. Like we're packed in here like sardines. We're moving as one, And then in verse 46, but Jesus said, no. Someone touched me, for I perceive that power has gone out from me." Jesus pauses. He says, "Peter, sit down." I feel like Jesus says that a lot, right? I resonate with Peter a lot. Jesus says, no. This is different. This is different. Someone touched me, and they were touched as a result. This is different. Something else is going on here. And so in verse 47, it says, and when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling, falling down before him, and declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she had been immediately healed. Now think about that. Who touched me? Well, Jesus, obviously everybody touched me. No. This is different. And everybody's like, not me. And all of a sudden, the room goes dark. A spotlight shines on this girl, and she's like, "It was me." And she comes to Jesus, and she falls at his feet. It says she was trembling. And she declared in the presence of everybody, "Hey, here's what's going on. I have brokenness. I have pain. And I touched Jesus, and now it's gone." She declares this amongst everybody. And then in verse 48, it's Jesus' response. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." Now, this is like a side story to the main story, right? The main story is that he's going to Jairus' house to heal Jairus' daughter, because right after this, he goes there and he raises her from the dead, and it's this big deal. This is en route to the main event, but this is so powerful. This is so huge. This is monumental, because see, here's the deal. This woman was hemorrhaging for 12 years. Now, she had some sort of menstrual disorder, evidently. That's what was going on, not to get too graphic or whatever. But she had been bleeding for 12 years. Now think about that. That's since 2011. Think about all the life that's happened since 2011. Think about how much your hair has changed since 2011, your clothes, your ideologies, your politics, your thoughts on God, your family, your relationships, your worldview. Think about all the things that have happened since 2011. That's a long time. 12 years is a long time. This woman has been hemorrhaging for 12 years. Now, here's the deal. In first century culture, when a woman, in the first century Jewish culture specifically, when a woman would menstruate, she was deemed as ceremonially unclean. And so for her to be able to be reintroduced into the community and into the family and all of this, she'd have to go through some cleansing rituals and all these different steps and procedures to sort of be reintroduced into the community. But for a certain period each month, no pun intended, you'll get it later, she was cut off from fellowship. She was cut off from community. She was cut off from relationship for that time, each month. She was ostracized and pushed to the fringes, pushed to the edges during that time. So she was an outcast. Now imagine that for 12 years. For 12 years, she had been pushed to the outskirts. For 12 years, she had been an outcast. For 12 years, she was ceremonially unclean. For 12 years, she was pushed out this way. And so the way that the cultural rules and the religious rules were, that if she did come into a space with other people, she had to announce that her presence. She had to let them know she was there. Unclean, unclean, I'm unclean. I'm coming through, clear a path, make way. I'm unclean. Because if you touch me while I'm unclean, then you're unclean. And you have to go through all the ceremonial rituals to be right with community again. And so no one can touch you, you can touch no one, and everyone has to stay away. For 12 years, this was her reality. For 12 years, this was her existence. This is how she was walking through life. And it says that she had liquidated all of her resources. She spent all of her money trying to figure this thing out. All of her dollars going to all the doctors to try and fix this thing. And nobody could figure it out. 12 years she's battling this. Imagine the physical fatigue that she had to have been experiencing, the exhaustion, the pain, right? The discomfort, slowly, ultimately bleeding out. Like, imagine the pain and the exhaustion. She's an outcast. She's poor. She's exhausted her resources. She's alone, and she's hopeless. I mean, this is a pretty terrible headspace to be in. This is a pretty terrible situation to find yourself in. And so she hears that Jesus of Nazareth is coming, the rabbi from Nazareth, that they're saying is potentially the Messiah. Now, if you notice at the beginning of this passage, it talks about, and Jesus came from the other side of the sea, and the crowds were waiting for him on the shore, right? Well, he was on the west side of the Sea of Galilee, and right before this, he came from casting out a demon from a demon-possessed man. You may know the story where he threw it into a herd of pigs, and then the pigs ran off the cliff, and the whole town was angry and was like, "Get out of here! You're killing our livestock!" Right? That was the story that scared me to death as a kid. I was like, demon-possessed pigs? Whoa! We'll talk about nightmares, right? And so he gets in the boat and he crosses over the Sea of Galilee and he comes back over to the west side of the Sea of Galilee. Now, the west side of the Sea of Galilee is the Jewish side. And so most likely this woman would have been Jewish, raised as a Jew. And so being raised as a Jew, she would have gone to the Jewish schools that were available for girls up to about the age of 5, where they would memorize the Torah and they would be familiarized with the prophets and the teachings and the scriptures and all of those things, right? And so you would have to assume that she would have some sort of basic understanding of the scriptures, because it sort of shapes the way that she responds to Jesus of Nazareth. Because what they would use is these prophecies by the prophets, the major and minor prophets in the Old Testament. It's all like the Hebrew names that are hard to pronounce. It's those guys. And they would write prophecies about what the Messiah is going to be like, what Jesus is going to be like. And Isaiah was one of those major prophets. He was one of those guys that had a lot of writings on what the Messiah would be like. And so there's no doubt in my mind that this woman would have known about Isaiah, would have known about the teachings of Isaiah that talk about what Jesus is going to be like. And in one of his prophecies in Isaiah chapter 53, he says this. He says that, talking about Jesus, he says, he was despised and rejected by mankind. This is him foreshadowing and foretelling of the crucifixion and the torture of Jesus. But then it says, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. And so I think this woman is sitting here in her brokenness, in her loneliness, in her pain, in her discomfort, in her exhaustion. And I think she recalls Isaiah 53, and she says, wait a second. If this rabbi from Nazareth is who they say he is, then he's a man of suffering, and he's familiar with pain. He gets it. This guy understands. None of these other people probably understand the pain that I'm feeling. None of these other people can relate with the pain that I'm going through, the pain that I'm carrying, the weight of everything that I have inside and that I'm carrying like bondage in every conversation, every space I go into. Nobody gets it, but this guy, if he's really the Messiah and he's who they say he is, he gets it. And so her pain compels her to pursue Jesus. She's drawn to Jesus because he gets it. And so she's fighting through this repeated disappointment because she's had hope before every doctor that she goes to, and it's just crushed dreams every time. And so she's had this repeated disappointment. So she's fighting through this repeated disappointment. She's pushing past rejection because for her to get to Jesus from where she is to where he is, remember they're moving like this, right? She's got to go through a lot of people. So she's got to announce, hey, unclean, unclean, coming through. Clear a path, people, right? That's the way that she has to kind of go through this. So she's pushing past the rejection and the boundaries and the barriers of all of that. And then on top of it, she's already dealing with the exhaustion and the physical pain, all to get to Jesus, because she says, this guy gets it. This guy knows pain. The scriptures call him a son of suffering. He gets it. I need to get to him. She would have also been familiar with a minor prophet named Malachi. Malachi was one of the more recent prophets of their day of, waiting for Jesus to come. It's the last book in the Old Testament. There's about a 400-year period between Malachi and when Jesus shows up. And so she would have been familiar with Malachi too, being on the Jewish side of the sea. And so she would have known Malachi chapter 4, verse 2. I'm confident that she did because of the way that she responds to Jesus. In Malachi 4:2, it says, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in his wings. It's a prophecy about Jesus saying that he will rise with healing in his wings. Now, here's what's interesting. This is huge because I've always wondered, why did Jesus respond that way? When she touches his garment, why does he say, your faith has healed you? What faith is he talking about? Well, this is it. This is what's so cool. The Hebrew word that's used for wings in this passage in Malachi 4:2, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in his wings. It's the same Hebrew word that's used for tassels on the outer garment of a rabbi. Maybe you've seen like a prayer shawl that they wear that go over their shoulders, and then when they're praying, they kind of pull it over their head, and it's this like blanket type shawl kind of thing, and it's got little tassels all the way around. If you spend any time in Oak Park or around any sort of Jewish men, essentially after they do their prayers in the morning, they wrap this around their midsection, and it kind of hangs out the bottom of their shirt. So if you've ever seen kind of like tassels hanging down, that's what this is. And the Hebrew word for those tassels is transliterated to wings. And so when this woman sees Jesus, and she sees the Messiah coming through that Isaiah had prophesied about, and then she recalls Malachi that says, there is healing in his wings, she says, whoa, I gotta get there. Whoa. If this guy is who he says he is, there's healing in his wings. And I need healing. This guy knows pain. He understands, he gets it. And there's healing available for me. And that's her headspace as she begins to take the first step. But listen, think through this internal dialogue that she would have had to take. I mean, she risked literally everything to reach out and touch this famous rabbi from Nazareth. She risked everything. And I mean everything. Because here's the deal. If he was merely just a rabbi, if he wasn't the Messiah that she was hoping for, that she was believing in, that she was having faith and trust in, if he wasn't the Messiah and he was just a regular rabbi and she crawled through the crowd and touched all those people without announcing herself and then touched the rabbi and made him ceremonially unclean, she would have been stoned to death on the spot. Because you cannot touch a rabbi and make a rabbi unclean. That is like the biggest no-no. And so for her to crawl through and to touch him, the amount of faith that she had to have that she would be healed and that he indeed was the Messiah was massive. And so she puts her entire life on the line to crawl through this. She believed that he was something more. She believed that he was the Messiah that was prophesied about in Isaiah. She believed that he was the healer that was prophesied about in Malachi chapter 4. She believed these things. She had faith in that. And so she put it all on the line, and I imagine her just kind of army crawling through this crowd to not touch, not be noticed, and to come just to the edge and extend her hand as far as she possibly can and touch the edge of his garment. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the inner struggle that she faced? Can you imagine the self-talk that's taking place? Can you imagine? I mean, just think about it for a second. It's crazy. She's probably sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, here's this famous rabbi, and he's going to this church leader. I mean, it's like, I envision it like after a Kansas City Chiefs game and Taylor Swift's boyfriend and Taylor Swift are walking by and the paparazzi and everything. And they're going to some big famous party. And then I walk up and I'm like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Can I be part of? Everybody's like, what's going on here? Like, who's this guy? This guy doesn't belong here. Well, can somebody, security would probably jump me faster than anything else, right? But think about it. That's sort of the vibe that's going down. There's this famous rabbi from Nazareth, and he's coming through with his squad with hundreds, if not thousands of people following, going to a famous, rich, the ruler of the temple's house to heal his daughter. It's going to be this big event. Everybody's like, all right, we're going to a healing today, baby. It's going to be great, right? Like, that's the vibe. That's what's happening. And then she interrupts the procession. Think about the inner dialogue that she's having. She's saying, who am I? Who am I to do that? Who am I to step in and be part of what's happening here? This is a big deal, and I'm not. I'm the outcast. I'm the loner. I'm broken. I'm messed up. Who am I to step into that? Think about that internal struggle that she must have been having. I mean, can you imagine? And she's saying, I'm clean. I'm unworthy. And I don't want people to know. I don't want the shame and the guilt that goes with that to have to say, I'm unclean, I'm unclean. When he said, who touched me? Everybody hid, herself included. She's like, oh man, dang. And then when the people backed up and she realized it was just her and she had been outed, she was trembling. She was terrified because she was broken. She was problematic. She was the one in pain. The self-talk is that, she was the outcast. But her pain compelled her to take a first step toward Jesus. Her pain compelled her. She said, I am in so much pain. And I believe that if this guy is who he says he is, that he gets it. He understands it. He knows it. And not only that, but he can heal me. He can take care of this. And so her pain compelled her to move, but her faith carried her through. Her faith carried her through all the obstacles and all the boundaries and all the red tape for her to just get to Jesus. And when she gets there and she touches him, Jesus' response, he says, your faith has made you well. I am who you thought I was. And I got you. That's essentially what Jesus says to her. And then he says, go in peace. Go in peace. I promise you she wasn't experiencing peace before this. This is a life-changing event. This is a trajectory-shifting event for this woman. And it reminds me of something else that Jesus says in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, where he's talking to people and he's sort of giving the invitation for people to do just what this woman did, to come to Jesus. And he says this, he says, come to me all who labor and are heavy laden. Other translations say, all you who are weary and essentially broken. And he says, and I will give you rest. I will give you rest. He says, take my yoke upon you, meaning do this with me. Let's do this together. Let's be in relationship together. Let's walk this journey together. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your soul. You will find rest for your soul. He says, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus says, come to me. Come to me. Those of you who are broken, those who are weary, those who are tired, those who are worn out, those who are in pain, he says, come to me. My burden is light, my yoke is easy, and I will give you rest for your soul. Whew. That's heavy, but that's liberating. That's an invitation to freedom. And so maybe you're in here and you're listening to this and you're saying, but Sam, who am I? Who am I to come to Jesus, right? I'm a nobody. I'm broken. I'm messed up. I'm screwed up. I've screwed up time and time again. I screwed up last night. I screwed up this morning. I screwed up during service today. I mean, who am I to come to Jesus? I'm not worthy for that. I don't deserve that. I'm not qualified for that. But I want you to know, hear me this morning, please. Jesus says, come. Jesus says, come to me. All you who are weary, heavy laden, broken, burdened, in pain. He says, come. Come to me. Maybe you're sitting here and you're going, okay, I hear that, but I don't want anybody to know. I don't want to announce this. I don't want people to know that I'm hurting. I don't want people to know that I'm in pain, that I'm broken, that my life is problematic. I don't want people, there's too much guilt, too much shame attached to that. I don't want people to know that I'm an outcast. I don't want people to know that I'm an addict. I don't want people to know these things. I don't want people to know. And Jesus says, hey, listen, that's exhausting. He says, come to me and let me give you rest for your soul. He says, come to me, bring it to me. And so maybe this morning as you're listening, your pain is compelling you. Maybe your pain compels you to say, you know what? Maybe I need to give this to Jesus. Maybe I need to bring this to Jesus. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm sick of carrying this stuff around. Maybe I can try Jesus. Maybe that's what I need to do. And so I want to invite you and encourage you this morning to take the first step in that journey. Take the first step in that journey. What we're going to do is the band's going to come out here and they're going to lead us in another song. And this time has been created intentionally for you to do business with God. And so we have prayer partners, and the prayer team is going to be here, and they're going to line up all around the front here. We're going to have Adam and Danielle, and I think Tracy as well, and they're going to be along the sides as well. But there's going to be people here to pray with you. And the invitation is simple. Come, all you who are weary and burdened and heavy laden, and let Jesus give you rest. Take the first step in that journey. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to come and you're going to pray with Pastor Adam over there and all of a sudden all your problems are solved and you're healed on the spot. Now, maybe Adam's a pretty holy guy. That might happen. But that's not what we're saying here. There's nothing hocus pocus about these people. They're going to be standing up here to pray with you. All they're doing as they're standing up here is they're saying, listen, I'm committed to step into it with you. I'm committed to say, hey, guess what? I'm broken just like you're broken. I'm in pain just like you're in pain. I've decided to bring my pain to Jesus, and I want to go with you as you bring your pain to Jesus as well. That's what's happening. And so I can't promise that, the hemorrhaging stops the second you have this prayer, but what I can promise you is that Jesus is here. What I can promise you is that he's here and he's saying, come find rest for your souls. He's saying, come, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, come, bring your pain to me because my yoke is easy, my burden is light. And I want to give you rest for your soul. I want to restore you. I want to bring life where there was once death. I want to bring healing where there was once pain. And so this morning, that's what we're going to do. I want to invite you to bring your pain to Jesus. And I know it's going to be, for some of you, you're sitting there having this, you're already in cold sweats. Like, am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? Am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? Listen, there's something powerful in physically getting up and walking and saying, I'm taking a physical, tangible step that's representative of the step that I'm taking in my heart and in my life to start this journey of reconciliation and healing with Jesus. Like I said at the beginning of this whole thing, this can be a very, very powerful morning for some of the people in this room. This can be trajectory shifting for you, where you lay your pain at the foot of the cross and you allow Jesus to begin the process of healing. He gets it. He's acquainted with your grief. He's the man of suffering. But there is healing in his wings. And so he invites you to come. So I'm going to pray. The band's going to lead, and I'm going to invite you to come and pray with some of our prayer partners this morning. Let me pray. God, I thank you so much for your word. I thank you for the truth that it gives to us. I thank you for the inspiration, the challenge, and most of all, the invitation to do life with you, to experience your grace, to experience your mercy, your peace, your healing. And God, this morning, whether it be physical pain or relational pain or familial pain or whatever the pain story is, we all have pain. Lord, I pray that we would surrender that to you, that we would bring it to you. God, give us courage, give us strength, give us wisdom, give us audacity to take the first step in this journey of healing with you. Because God, we know you're going to meet us. Your word says that as we draw near to you, you will draw near to us. We know that you will meet us here. But God, give us the courage and the strength to take the first step, to bring our pain to you. God, do a work in us today. We love you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen. So here's what I want to do. I want to invite everyone in the room to stand and to sing this with us. But if you would like prayer this morning, I would invite you even now to come and to meet with some of our prayer partners and do some business with God.
I've carried a burden for too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it up. And I hear your invitation to let it all go. I see it now, I'm laying it down, and I know that I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, oh. You saw my condition, had a plan from the start. Your son for redemption, oh, the price for my heart. And I don't have a contact for that kind of love. I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. I run to the Father, fall into grace. I'm done with the high.
And so for those of you who are still up front praying and still want prayer, the prayer team's gonna hang out up here for a little while. They're not skirting out here right away. Maybe you're still kind of wrestling and you're like, but all these people are watching. We wanna give you the opportunity to connect with somebody, okay? And this is not just like an emotional response kind of thing. Kensington takes this stuff super seriously about bringing our pain to Jesus. And so it's not just this morning, this is the beginning of a journey, but we have all kinds of opportunities for you to get connected and to get plugged in. There's a slide that's gonna come up with all of our different care options and care ministries that we have here. We have Celebrate Recovery, we have Divorce Recovery, we have Grief Recovery. You can go to kensingtonchurch.org/care to be a part of all of those things. Our Celebrate Recovery people are out in the lobby today to meet with you out by the hub. And so if you wanna go and connect with them, talk to them, there's also an event happening at our Orion campus, Surviving the Holidays, because that can be a really tough time, a time that brings up all of this pain that we're trying to deal with. We want to be able to serve you and to resource you well. So there'll be a slide that goes up there on November 14th. Again, you can get more information, kensingtonchurch.org/care. But guys, listen, this is just the beginning of a journey. This series is Bring It, and we're encouraging you, we're calling you, we're inviting you to bring your pain, bring your needs, bring your hurts to Jesus, because he says, hey, my yoke is easy, my burden is light, and you can find rest for your soul, okay? Thank you guys so much for being here. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week.